Hey, what's up guys? It's Wes. In this video, we're going to take a look at 4 digital art mistakes that you might be making during your image making process. But we're not just going to cover what the mistakes are. We're actually going to talk about a few solutions to them. So, if you do catch yourself in these kind of 4 different predicaments, there's going to be ways to get out of there. But without further ado, let's take a look. Oh yeah, so art mistakes. Let me preface something real quick before we get too far into the weeds and start making people angry in the comments. If you have been working as a digital artist, and I say working, you could be a hobbyist or an amateur or somebody just starting, and you're kind of coming to terms with kind of using the digital infrastructures in order to make your images, just know that if you have a process that you like and you like the outcomes that you're getting, like the images look good, you're confident in the way that you make them, it's a way that you can kind of repeat those same steps and come to the same good conclusion that you're a fan of and you like how it looks, then it's not a mistake. Even if it's something that's on this list, if you do stuff on this list and you like how it looks and you like working that way, you don't have to change it because some bald guy on YouTube told you to. All right. So without out of the way, I just want to go through these 4. And, we could do quite a few of these videos because there's a lot of little nuances with digital art that you can quickly take from just, hey, this is how I work. And it actually starts becoming a problem, kind of a little bit out of control. So we're going to talk about these, okay? So let's start with the first one. And the first one is you are probably using too many layers. Now, I'm going to be talking directly at some of you right now. Let me get this straight. Let me see if I'm connected in the way that I think I am, okay? So you're working on a piece, you do a sketch layer, you do, you have your kind of outlines, maybe some nice blocky shapes, some values, like volumes as far as, here's my shapes, here's my silhouettes, here's my outline, here's my sketch, here's my refined sketch. Everything's all well and good. And you start getting into the nitty gritty. Now you're adding some color. You're kind of getting there. You're starting to get into rendering and things like that. And then you come up with an idea. You're like, oh, wait, you know what I need here? I need a nice, like, bombastic hit of light. I need like a color dodge layer. I need something that really makes my line art pop. I need some sort of like brightness contrast. I need a hue or saturation adjustment. I need something like this. And in your mind, what you're doing is you're like, okay, I'm working pretty good and I'm going to make this change, but I don't know if it's going to be good or not. And I know a lot of you are nodding right now. I don't know if it's going to be good or not. So I'm going to make a new layer and I'm going to do my brightness contrast adjustment. I'm going to add that color dodge. I'm going to pop a little bit of color. I'm going to do this thing. And then if I like it, I'll keep it. Cool. If I don't like it, I'll just scrap it. I'll go back. I have the safety net of being able to get rid of the layer. And then what ends up happening, you put it on there and it looks great. Cool. Now you start painting again. Okay, that turned out well. Good. Okay, let me make a new layer and start working on top of that, right? Before you know it, because every change that you're talking about doing is going onto a new layer, you could be 30 layers deep. And what ends up happening is you do the dreaded thing that every digital artist hates, where now you end up working on the wrong layer for like 35, 40 minutes before you realize what's going on. Okay? I know it. It happens to everybody. It's a specific thing you have to train yourself not to do. Okay? The best way to get out of this habit, and it's going to make a lot of you wince. You're going to feel a little uneasy about it, right? The best way is when you make a change and you like it, merge, like flatten the entire image. Boom, flatten it. Make it one layer and continue working. All right? It takes a bit of courage, takes a bit of getting used to. I actually have a method to where you make a painting all in one layer and you don't hit the undo button ever. It's an extreme example. It's called the gauntlet method, and I'll have it linked in the description. But it is something that if you want to train yourself to use less layers, if you keep running into that problem where you keep adding stuff to a layer it shouldn't be on, or I've been working on the wrong layer, or whatever that is, try out the gauntlet method. Really what this comes down to is confidence. You're not confident in the decision that you're making, so you're going to give yourself some wiggle room. And that's fine, but then you have an image that, would be, 100 megabytes is now like a gig because you have you have 70 layers. Now, I will say with professionals and professional artists and illustrators, go ahead and keep all your layers, because Lord knows the client is going to want something that was 30 layers back. It always happens. With the pro stuff, it's a different animal. But if you're just making art for yourself and you want to get practice at building confidence in your workflow, use less layers by doing all the major changes you want to do, adjusting colors and adding special effects and all this stuff, and then merging it down to one, maybe 2 layers, okay? A lot of times what I'll do, I'll actually get a collection of layers and put them in a folder. That way it makes the folder, the layer panel a little cleaner. Then I do a copy all, or a select all, and then copy merged, and make a new copy on top of everything called merged copy. Then if I like how it's going, I'll go back down later and delete that folder that had all the setup stuff. Just get rid of it because we have that merged layer copy. You know what I mean? So it's a way to clean up your workflow, keep yourself kind of organized, mentally focused in the zone. It's a good way to work. So yeah, I'm betting you use too many layers. And if so, merge those layers, build up some confidence. You got this. Number 2, and this is a big one, big one. And this not only works for digital artists, but it works for traditional artists, really anybody that's trying to learn visual communication. You are not using enough reference. You're not. I promise. I don't use enough reference. I should be using reference all the time. And a lot of this comes down to you don't want to feel beholden to the reference, right? So there's 2 main ways that I've seen and that I have actually used reference in my image making. Now beforehand, I've been trained classically. I went to art college, atelier, whatever you want to call it. So we did a lot of life drawing, we did figure studies, we did still lifes, we did landscape on plein air, we did all that stuff. We did oils and acrylics and watercolors and charcoals and all sorts of stuff, right? So we learned how to see what we need to see and put it down directly onto our canvas. Interpret what our eye is seeing directly onto canvas. What ended up happening is I got too beholden to the reference. Instead of trying to make up my own imagery, I would just transfer the reference and then maybe change the color of the jacket, or some, you know what I mean? But it would basically be the reference image. And that's one way to work with reference. And if you want to get better at your dexterity and seeing your hand-eye coordination and kind of transferring exactly what you see, go for it. You can make an illustrious career out of doing professional portraits, pet portraiture, still life studies. World famous artists, have done this. But there's also the other side. If you want to go more imaginative, if you're a comic book artist, if you want to do like Magic the Gathering or Dungeons and Dragons, or you want to work on like a Warhammer or Star Wars like I have, where you're like, okay, there's more imagination here. You have to work mentally on stuff that doesn't exist. How do you use reference? The best way I've found lately is start with your sketch. Don't use reference for your sketch. Don't even worry about it. Sketch, get your composition down, get all the shapes down. And then you're going to know what you need reference of. Let's say there's a character with a big cape or like a flag. I had a lot lately where I had characters with flags, and I was like, okay, in this type of situation, in this type of weather, in this type of scenery, how would a flag drape on a flagpole if there was like a banner lord carrying it? Okay, now you start looking for flag references. You start looking for these little minute things that are pieces of your overall composition instead of making the reference your entire composition. Does that make sense? Also, I'm going to put up links here, but also in the description for places like Pexels, Pixabay, Unsplash. There's a lot of good royalty-free reference sites. What you got to watch out for now, there's a bunch of AI crap out there, but these sites have been pretty good about not having a lot of that stuff. And also, I would be remiss if I didn't bring up PureRef, which is absolutely free. I have a link to it in the description below. Yeah, absolutely free. It's a great way to have all of your reference images. You can just drag and drop them from the internet and flip them and put it in grayscale and, you know, crop them and like organize them and stuff. It's a great program. I love using it. But you should use more reference. Your images are going to be better. You're going to be working with more confidence. Use more reference. Just do it. Just use more. You're going to be elated with how much your art skills grow because you're really training yourself how to see, and you're building your visual library that you can call back to, and you'll be the next Kim Jong-gi. You'll never need reference again. You'll draw everything from imagination. You're going to be a freaking rock star. So if you use reference now and keep using reference, you will not need to use it as much down the line. So yes, use more reference. I promise you, you're not using enough. I'm not using enough. Just do it. Number 3. This is the one where I got salty at myself because I do this. I still do this. And it's something I'm in 2025, I'm breaking this habit. It's a bad habit and I'm going to fix it, okay? You're trying to use too many techniques on one image. All right? Right now I'm going through a phase I need to simplify. I need to look at more comic book art. I'm reading like Hellboy. I'm looking at Jim Lee stuff and Todd McFarlane and Joe Mad and like even other YouTubers like Trent Kanuga and David Finch. And, I'm looking at these just masters of being able to simplify ideas and characters down. But I'm a classically trained painter. I love John Singer Sargent. I love Dean Cornwell. I love, let's name them, Joaquin Sorolla or whatever. And what I like to do is if I'm trying to simplify something, then I start putting the nice brush strokes in there. And that's cool. And that looks nice. And that looks, but I need to simplify. But I know and it's this back and forth and it ain't happening. If there's a way to find a good hybrid between quote unquote comic book or manga art and like painterly impressionistic work, I'd love to figure it out. And that might be my life's journey. I don't know, but it makes for a hell of a headache when you're trying to improve at one or the other, is when you start mixing these things together. It's probably better to focus on one thing, focus on better line art and line weight and inking and, hatching techniques. Do that. And then if you want to make a painting, do an underpainting. Use your color temperatures, use your raw umbers and your ultramarine blues and all this type of stuff. Get in that headspace and then do that to the best of your ability. But trying this thing of putting every technique that you know into one painting is a pain in the ass. I'm telling you from experience. I have hundreds of video tutorials that I have bought. So I make tutorials on my website, link in the description, but I also buy other artist tutorials. I love to learn new things. I love to watch these different people, Anthony Jones and James Pack and, John Park and, Tyler Edlin and, all these people. I just buy tons and tons of these tutorials and I watch them and I learn. And like portrait painting by Arthur Gain. And, I look at Adrian Smith and I try to do all of this. And I need to stop. I need to focus and figure out what I want this image to be, make it the best image it can be, and then move on to a new image with new techniques. the best way to do it. So yeah, simplify, man. Don't be mixing, chocolate and peanut butter. Fine, that's great. But every once in a while, get really good at the chocolate, get really good at the peanut butter. And then later, when you do decide to start merging them more and more, it's going to be even better than it ever has been before. So yeah, I'm talking to myself right now. Don't try every technique in one piece. You're going to pull your hair out. I mean, we'll make that joke that, that's what happened to me. But just don't do it. Just focus, simplify, choose a direction, stick with it. You got this. All right. And number 4, do not have your colors turn into fruit salad. Now, I can't remember if it was James Gurney or Richard Schmid but I remember hearing fruit salad as kind of this metaphor for very saturated colors all across the painting, right next to each other, just combating each other for your attention. It's a very easy trap to fall into, especially with digital art. With traditional art, what's kind of nice is as you're mixing colors, they start muting each other out. The chroma gets less intense because it's subtractive color theory. The more you're adding to it, the less light actually gets through all of those pigments, and you end up with what's called muddy colors. Colors that go towards the grays and the browns and kind of the ochre-y, like mud, right? It kind of looks like mud. I love those colors. I think there's a lot of power in that. But I can see why somebody would be frustrated if with a traditional painting, they want to keep the chroma high. They want to keep those nice, vibrant, saturated colors. It can be tricky to do. I see that as a benefit because it allows you to mix and kind of play within these little mid-tones and, mid-saturations and nice grays. But with digital, every full 100% saturation blasted out, lightness at 100, saturation at 100, value at 100, or whatever. Everything's just so bright and vivid, and all these screens are so nice, and with our iPads and our, and our big giant, digital. It's too much. It's too much. If you have everything cranked up to 11, it drowns itself out. It's not interesting. It doesn't look good. It can actually be an eyesore, and not like a subjective, I don't like how that looks, but no, it can actually put strain on your eyeballs. If you have competing colors right next to each other and they're the same value, it can make your eyes cross. So how do you avoid this? How do you avoid, that sort of fruit salad mentality in digital art? So I have quite a few ways that I go about it. Number 1, you want to make sure your values are correct. You have a strong, mid-tone, you have strong highlight, you have strong shadow, and they should never kind of meet, right? They should never mingle. They should be 3 separate values that you can keep track of the entire time. You're going to have cleaner pictures that way. And if your values are right, the old saying is value does the work, color gets the credit. If your values are right, the colors are right. It's just it is how it is. But what I've noticed, and I'm currently making my second volume of my Simplifying Color Theory course. I've already done part 1. It's available on my site. And we talk about the power of gray. So whenever you look at a color wheel, a lot of people like to look around the color wheel. Look at this blue and the cyans and the reds and the oranges and the pinks and the fuchsia and the purple and the blah. You're discussing these hues and the temperature of the hues around the color wheel. That's just how the vernacular, that's the lexicon, that's how we discuss color usually. But try going through the color wheel, not around it. Try to go through it, and you're going to see something magical happen. As you start going between your color temperatures, you're going to start getting these beautiful nuances of less saturated color. Because if you go, let's say, from a red to like a cyan, which are, complementary colors, what happens if you go through the color wheel? what do you have to go through? You have to go through gray. Gray's in the middle. So to make that switch, you have to subtly go towards gray, and then you come out the other end. If you started with red, you come out the other end coming towards more that cyan color, right? But if you put perfect gray, 50% gray next to red, fully saturated, big bombastic red, the gray looks green. It's all relative. Relative color theory is my favorite thing in the world. I love it. You can get perfect, beautiful nuance without much hassle. But let's say you have the cyan and you put that gray, that same 50% gray next to the cyan. What do you think happens? That looks red. It is more red than that cyan. It's closer to red than pure cyan. Do you see what I'm saying? So you're slowly introducing yourself to these other more vibrant colors by going through the neutrals. You have to go through the middle of the color wheel. And I promise you, if you pick one main color, or let's just say one main color temperature, do you want it to be cool or do you want it to be warm? Then sprinkle in a little bit of your grays, a little bit of that stuff around the middle of your color wheel. And then to accent it, do some of your complementary color. This is actually, if you're a fan of color recipes, called split complementary. It's a great way to work. If you have two on the same temperature and then you have one, it makes kind of a triangle where you go across. That is a beautiful gamut to limit yourself to make really vibrant, colorful paintings without having that crazy fruit salad look where you have every color just clashing against one another. So give it a shout. Try the grays. Live in the gray and then slowly start branching out from there. I know Marco Bucci, I'm a big fan of his. He has a great video about this, and which I will also link in the description. Yeah, give him a shout too. He has some incredible videos about theory. I'm a big fan of his. And just there's so much fun about color that you can play with to make sure that your images look vibrant without necessarily being vibrant. It's pretty incredible. So you made it. We're here. That's it. We did it. It's done. We've solved all the world's problems. These are 4 mistakes that you might be making that I have definitely made. A lot. I've made these, all 4 of these have been big ones for me. And that one, the one about mixing styles, I still do it. And I still have to beat myself up because I do it too much. But I hope you found something in here that was pretty helpful. If you're a fan of this type of video, let me know in the comments. Also, is there an art sin that you know about that you might do yourself that you're trying to break out of? That you're just having kind of a little bit of trouble with or something like that, and you know you need to do better, but you don't quite know how, let us know in the comments because we would love to be able to help you. Also, there's going to be links to my Discord, all that good stuff in the description below. But I thank you so much for having me. And just go out there, go make cool art. If you need cool art supplies, if you need some digital brushes, if you need some gradient maps for this color theory stuff, if you need courses, all my online courses, if you head to wesgardner.art, it's all there for you. And I'm going to be adding a whole lot more, including a portrait course, part 2 of simplifying color theory, a new landscape course is on the way. We got some other type of design-centric courses, which will be pretty fun. But yeah, 2025 is going to be a huge year. I'm super excited about it. Super excited to get this going off to the races. But that's my time. Hope you found something helpful. I'm Wes, and you are awesome. So go make cool art, and we'll talk to you next time. Peace.